Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Purple Podcast. Man, it's a weird day. It feels like there's lots of off-season news. We're going to talk about the playoffs, what is not official yet, but who we think the next general manager is going to be, and discuss head coach possibilities, and just dive right in. Sorry we got started a little bit early, but that's a first for us. So welcome. I am Kyle Smith. Kyle West is to my left on the screen here. It goes back.
What are directions? Which way are we? I don't know.
I am dyslexic today.
Yes, like you said, I feel like we unofficially have a general manager in Minnesota, even though it has not been named yet. So that's definitely, I think, the topic that we will be discussing on this week's episode. Adam, we learned that we can play really goofy background music.
Oh, nice.
So we will do some daydreaming while Adam Carlson does his intro.
Hi, I'm Adam. Thanks for coming.
There it is. And you could just keep that if you like it. You just keep it going and it loops.
It could be a whole daydreaming episode.
Oh boy.
It's got a beat to it. Well,
unless we're freestyling this, I don't think we should.
We probably immediately got a copyright strike for that, even though it comes with the program.
Yeah. What's up, Andrew? Thanks for joining as always. This is episode 465, Not So General Manager. I put that because this is not your ordinary GM that the Vikings have all but said, hey, this is the candidate. So basically, in a nutshell, in the shortened down version, it came down to Ryan Poles, who was formerly with the Chiefs most recently, and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, who is currently with the Browns. Those are the two leading candidates. This is coming out from like Rappaport and Schefter and all those guys.
Yeah.
And Ryan Poles decided to go with the Bears. Not shocking because I think he was with the Bears before in some capacity. So
he was a undrafted free agent with Chicago at one point.
Tyler thinks that we dropped the ball not getting Poles. Now, initially, that was my thought too, Tyler. But here's the thing. We're shifting from what was the Zimmer Spielman era, and we're going to go in a different direction regardless. Now, here's the thing. I'm not sure why. Yes, we can call him Cam. That's funny. That's actually great. Because if you're going to jack his name up, just call him an abbreviated version. That's actually really good. Thanks, Wes. Here's the thing, and this is where I want to start going forward with this. So Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, if you look at his background, he's a Princeton and Harvard guy. And some guys are going to hate that immediately. Like, this guy's not even with football. He was with the San Francisco 49ers when Alex Smith was still quarterbacking them. So, no. This is back to the Kaepernick era, all right? He's been there, and he's most recently with the Browns. And I'm going to read you this off of ESPN.com, and this is dated today at 2:14 Eastern time, all right? Browns general manager Andrew Berry hired Adofo-Mensah from the San Francisco 49ers in 2020 after he spent 7 seasons with the 49ers and the 49ers manager, then director of football and development and research. So he knows more about football than you and I know. He has inner workings. And what I like about this guy is that this was his dream. He could go out and do the stock market do all these things. And
he has done the stock market.
What's that?
Yeah.
He has done the stock market.
He came from Wall Street.
I didn't even know that.
He did. He came from a Wall Street background. He was trading stocks on I don't remember what. I won't pretend to know anything about that. But like you said, this is a very intelligent man who could be doing literally anything right now.
And it's weird some of the concerns that we're hearing from some fans about him. He hasn't been in the NFL long enough. Well, I get that, but he has experience dealing with personnel and numbers and analytics and everything like that. So I don't think that's a big issue. And then you have got people like, oh, do you even want someone that's been at Cleveland? He was barely in Cleveland. That was a blink in Cleveland.
Look at all the talent that the Niners have. They've already been to a Super Bowl recently, and they're going. I'm putting them to go back to it. I think this is going to be a repeat year of 2 years ago. I think it's going to be the Chiefs and the 49ers in the Super Bowl again. I 100% believe in that. He's a part of a team that shouldn't even be there, in my opinion, because their quarterback sucks. He's terrible.
I totally understand why people are disappointed that Vikings didn't get Poles. Poles is a bit more of a traditional general manager, came in through scouting, personnel guy, and to me, that was the safer route. And as someone who is a conservative football mind, I had that route in my mind too. I was like, okay, let's get the conservative personnel person in there and make things work. But the more I think about it, the more I think like, okay, get a younger, drastic change, make things a lot different, change the entire philosophy in Minnesota. And to me, I've been a fan of this team for so long and been happy with mediocre and consistency, and this is going to be different, and I'm excited about it.
Kyle West, tell your point. We were talking before Adam joined about letting people do their jobs. This is what you guys need to hear, and this is what I like about having a guy who has 7 or 8 years in the NFL in management positions, but Kyle West will tell you exactly why this is important.
So I watched an interview clip with Kwesi when he first signed with Cleveland, and he was asked point blank, like, hey, like, you don't come from a football background. Like, you didn't work your way up from a scout. So how do you approach like your philosophy for evaluating talent and, bringing players in through the draft? And his answer, I really liked his answer, because he said, it's his job to trust the people around him, because that's why we have a professional staff. Like, we're going to come together as a team, and we're going to come up with the best decision on what players to draft, free agency, all that stuff. And I like that, because we forget sometimes that general manager means you're supposed to manage your team of people that work underneath you. You're supposed to work with your team. And I feel like underneath Rick Spielman, there was too much. Well, he was a scout previously, so maybe the department thought this, but, well, I'm not going to go with them because my gut instinct tells me I'm going to go this other way with it. And that's where you start to get that rift between, GM and your scouting department and your coaching staff. And so I like this philosophy of, we're going to work together as an organization, and we're going to have a direction that we're going to go in. I think that's what's really exciting about this hire.
And we've been hearing a lot about how Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer barely communicated, how everything was kind of cold, and how everybody's hands was in everybody else's jobs. And honestly, I think that's a lot of the reason that Minnesota was really messed up on the coaching side, because Mike Zimmer wasn't committed to coaching the offense, but he definitely had commands to tell the offense that made them not be able to do their jobs. He was basically the defensive coordinator, which took more time off his plate of being a head coach. So, I mean, we saw a lot of this, and it's starting at the top, that they're getting guys who are going to do their job and let others do their jobs. And honestly, I'm excited about this.
I mean, like I said, I won't pretend to know anything about this. Like, my extent of the stock market comes from the movie The Wolf of Wall Street here. So, like, please don't take financial advice from the Purple People podcast. But I don't imagine that you know everything about every stock listed as to what to trade and not trade. You have people that work with you that help you, know what to do and what decisions to make and everything. And so I like bringing that mentality to the Vikings. I like having a direction, because I feel like underneath Spielman here towards the end, this team they got lost in their direction. Well, I don't know what their philosophy was. So having someone come in, and you can not like the analytics side of it, maybe you think that's wrong, maybe it will be wrong, but having a direction to go in will be a positive for this team.
I got a question for you, West. Do you think we've seen the last of the cast a net draft strategy?
I don't know, because I don't know enough about Kwesi to be able to tell you what his philosophy will be. And we won't know the answer to that question for 3-4 years down the line, because it's going to take a couple drafts here to get there. I don't know. I
think that we have, because an analytics guy is going to do what's best for the team at the time, and we're going to see a lot more best player available than positional reaches. We're going to be going for a lot of value, based on positional need. And that's where Rick Spielman made his biggest mistakes as a drafter, was reaching for positional value. And it hurt the Vikings numerous times.
I'm going to read something from the Browns. This is June of 2020, right when COVID kicked off. But he says, Adolfo Mensa says, and I quote, "I think my background is positive because I don't have any preconceived notions or biases, which I find to be huge.
Right.
Staying in those, well, we're going to take a corner because I want a corner thing. And I'm not taking the shot at Zimmer. I'm just using that as an example, right? That's what the Vikings did." He says, "I like to ask why a lot. You will find that out about me. I want to know even the most simple question. I pick every person's brain." And I'm going to read kind of a lengthy paragraph, but stay here with me because this is very interesting. "As vice president of football ops, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah will work closely with Barry and the rest of senior football staff." This was with the Browns,
Cleveland,
"to contribute all roster and strategy decisions. He will also assist with day-to-day operations of the department." Kwesi, a former walk-on basketball player at Princeton, so he's an athlete, came in the NFL with a clean slate football-wise, but had his foundation built thanks to extensive time spent with the following longtime veterans: Vic Fangio, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and a myriad of others. Still, he is adamant he won't be quibbling with a scout's opinion of players because he says, "That's not my area of expertise." Instead, he will collect and assess various opinions from possible player personnel staff and help the group arrive at the soundest possible decision. That's exactly what this team wants, and that's what they're going to get with this guy. And I like that.
Now, to play devil's advocate for just a moment, because we kind of have to, we have to look at both sides of it. That was an issue early on with the Wilfs, and the reason why they promoted Rick Spielman to general manager when they had that weird sort of trifecta of power thing. And so I hope that this doesn't mean that we're sliding back to those days. Like, I want him to be a leader and to listen to everyone's voice on the team in the scouting department, but ultimately it has to funnel down to his decision and not like a
what he's trying to say here is that he wants to collect all the data possible before making a decision. And that's a math person's approach to things. It is not to make those gut reactionary moves, to wait until all the information's in to make the best possible decision. And he's going to listen to his scouts. He's going to listen to his coaches. He's going to listen to everything out there and make a decision. And that's what I like to hear. I don't want whatever the Vikings were doing when they were trying to draft quarterbacks and most of the wide receivers and almost all of the offensive linemen. I mean, whatever they were doing to get those guys in was not working.
Yeah.
So it's time for a change in philosophy, and this is a bit of a drastic change. Polls would have been a lot more of a softer change, but yeah, I'm ready to see what this new approach is going to bring Minnesota, because now I have absolutely no idea how the Vikings are going to move forward in the draft. At this point, I don't even know how much the input of a new head coach would change, because we don't have a lot of the staff in place that would help to make a decision in the draft. And we had an article over on the Viking Age, and it was about how it really doesn't matter at this point if the Vikings draft an offensive or defensive-minded head coach, because it's all going to be decision-making from the team. It isn't going to be a dictatorship. It isn't going to be an oligarchy where there's one person handing down all these decisions and everybody else is just following suit. This is going to be a collaborative effort. This is going to be a team, and that's what a team is supposed to be.
And to echo what Adam's saying, I'm not saying that you weren't going to go specifically there, but this is what they want, the opposite of what Mike Zimmer was. This is exactly what they're saying. Zimmer butted heads. That's why a lot of the coordinators offensively left. That's why you saw a lot of like in-house hires defensively and stuff. They're trying to get away from that. I have nothing against Zimmer. I told you guys a million times, I'll die on the hill for him because, like we said, the guy that's not named Bud Grant or Dennis Green, he's the third winningest coach here. So he has a special place in history here. But ultimately it was a failure because things kept going in that circle of, well, we're just not getting it done. We're not above average. We're kind of in the middle, right? I like this new approach for this reason. At minimum, you're going to collect the data. That's what it sounds like the standard is going to be. We're not going to go into something blind. And the other part of that too, which is a two-sided thing on it, is he said, I'm going to look at everything, what's best for the team. So to Adam's point, well, we need an edge rusher, so we're going to go get an edge rusher at 11. What if you have a Micah Parsons there at 11 and you pass up on him to get an edge rusher who's ends up being, injury plagued or whatever, and you missed out on a generational talent? Go after the guy that's going to change your team, because we've seen in the past, if you go get a guy like Jefferson, who, hey, maybe we did need at the time, but what if we didn't? It's still going to shape all the pieces around.
So that's my favorite story when we talk about the draft, is how the Vikings did not need Adrian Peterson.
Right.
Drafted him. Yep. We had Chester Taylor. Chester Taylor was a 1,000-yard rusher. Hey, he looked good. He's coming in, but Adrian Peterson was there in front of you. He's a generational franchise talent. And the Vikings, in that instance, were smart. And they took the guy who was the best player available when they drafted Adrian Peterson. That's what this team needs to do. Now, I get fired up over this right now because it's exciting. It's exciting that the team feels like they're heading in the right direction.
A lot of Vikings fans are disappointed that Poles wasn't the choice, but from everything I've read and every analyst I've seen on Twitter and social media and any inside source I've seen talking, Poles was not their first choice anyway.
Thank you. That's just where I was going to go with that, Adam. If Poles was your first choice, you're not letting him interview.
Yeah, you're not letting him go to Chicago.
You're not letting him go to Chicago first. You're absolutely not doing that.
Instead, we got a guy sitting at Manny's eating an $80 New York strip.
Yeah.
This is exciting. I know some of you guys think, you got to think too. I mean, we could play devil's advocate all day. I did it in my head. I did a 90-minute Peloton bike ride today, and all I was trying to do was think about all the scenarios, right? I had a long time to think about it. I was like, okay, at some point, somebody sat down Doug Peterson and the general manager there. They made it work, and the ultimate goal is to win a championship, and they did. Ryan Poles has been at Kansas City for however long. They are currently building a dynasty. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl again because they got past the toughest opponent that they played in the Bills this Sunday, right? Amazing game, by the way. But just because you do it there does not mean it's going to be recreated somewhere else. I'm not saying that this guy that we're going to hire is going to be a failure. What I'm saying is just because you don't get a guy that's, on your radar who you sitting on Twitter wanted as number one doesn't mean the Vikings aren't going to have success. And you have to be patient. That's the whole point of this episode. If this could be summed up in one word, be patient with this guy. All right. And I know the Wilfs are going to be.
I do want to bring a little something to light. If you're on social media and you see some of those posts from all the news sources about how the Vikings have found their guy and they're doing what they can to make it official and bring him in, don't scroll through the comments, man. Once you start looking through those comments, you see so much hate and just... It's bad. It's bad.
Racism, ignorance, just dumb stuff spewed out there. And it's funny too. What is funny to defend the guy because we all assume and we think. I mean, it's been reported by Schefter. He's the front runner now to be the Vikings GM. Kwesi is all these people making these like racist remarks and all these stupid remarks online. This guy not only knows more about football than you do, but he is way fucking smarter than you are. So,
like we said.
You played yourself on that, dude. Like the guy's a Princeton and Harvard grad.
I was gonna say, and coming from Wall Street, he could still be doing that, making probably more money, potentially more.
Well, you can put him in the Wolf sit down and talk about some portfolios.
Oh,
good point.
The brains in that operation is wild, but I get it. I totally understand. Like you said, Kyle, bringing in the devil's advocate here is like, well, he's not really a football guy. Dude, I wasn't a military guy. I didn't know military time when I went to basic training, and I did 12 freaking years in that stuff. If that's what you want to do, then go do it. You know what I mean? And he did it. He went for a dream. Think about how wild this is. He left Wall Street to go to San Francisco.
Okay, and so here's the thing about really intelligent people. You listed the individuals that he had worked with. I forget who all you had listed earlier, but
Vic Fangio and then John Lynch, all those guys, Kyle Shanahan.
You pick up nuggets of knowledge from each of those as you go along. Why do you think he's been promoted so quickly all the way up to potentially general manager now of the Minnesota Vikings? You learn at every stop as you go. That should be exciting. If you're a Vikings fan, that should make you excited.
And we've been talking for years about how this team needs a youth movement.
Yep.
And it does. It starts at the top. Both Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer, we're not spring chickens. In fact, this new general manager, if he is hired, will actually be younger than me, and that's scary in some ways. But I also love it because it's a fresh perspective.
Yep.
It's like when Robert California was hiring his assistant on The Office. He wanted to bring someone in who didn't have a lot of bad what's the word? A lot of bad qualities that would ruin the job, and that he could teach from a fresh slate, and they could work together and develop their own relationship. And you know what? I kind of like that.
You know, I'd be scared if this was his very first job and he's jumping straight into GM. But it's not. He's been around the league. He's going to 7 or 8 seasons, and he's like Kyle said, he's climbed the way up the ladder. The other one that is point to like the flip side of that point is there are other guys that initially when Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman got fired, they brought up some names like the kid who was related to somebody who worked with the Packers forever. That guy's been passed up for 3 seasons straight as general manager. I don't want that guy. Something is there because the NFL, especially the brass in any community of businessmen, they're going to keep it tight-knit because they protect themselves. Something's off there if you're not getting promoted, because especially with how the NFL runs right now, there's so much change there's 6 to 8 head coaching positions, which ultimately means 6 to 8 franchises are going to hire new DCs, OCs, head coaches, assistants, all that. And he's been passed up for it 3 straight years. I did not want that guy. So I'm glad that he's not that person, because he seems to steadily have won people over. And here's the thing too, whether you like it or not, this is what the Vikings want. It's the Eric Kendricks quote and the Brian O'Neill quote all together in one. The players want to be included and they want to be talked to so they can have a relationship with the coach.
So
they don't want
to feel like part of the process.
Yeah, they don't want North Korea in the building. They don't want that. That's all it is. And that's what
they want. A little respect. A little bit of respect too.
I was just gonna say we don't have to spend too much time on it because it's gonna be hard for us as 3 white guys to sit here to talk about this. But he understands in a way that like we never will the social issues that go on that the players in the league face, because the majority of the league is African American. So he can
if the Vikings do hire him, he will be the 4th Black NFL general manager.
Correct. He can identify with players, especially young players. These young players coming out of college, these social issues are a really big deal. And we joke about how Mike Zimmer probably had no idea what a gritty was, you know, even after Justin Jefferson's doing it on the team. So having that relatability, someone that these players can talk to, maybe even if it's more than just, you know, outside of football. Hey, this is what's going on in my home life. This is what I think. Having that relatability, that will make a better team. We're building a team. That's how teams win.
Then you got Thomas Butch in the chat reminding me again that I'm older than this guy.
I want to echo to your point, Kyle. And I have to bring it up because the only thing, because the Vikings unfortunately haven't won a Super Bowl in my lifetime. I'm a huge North Carolina Tar Heel fan, right? Football and basketball. This is where I'm from. I love them so much. Like, I don't have as much fandom for them as I do at the Vikings, just because professional football is the god of all the sports. But to your point, relatability, right? Our coach, Roy Williams, beloved coach, came over from Kansas. He was a North Carolina guy, came here, took over, won 3 national titles in like 13 years, which is unheard of. And I saw after the last one, he comes in. This dude has a full white head of hair. Comes in, he's got fresh Jordans on in his suit, and he's over here dancing with his players at like 68 years old. And I'm like,
and here's the
these
thing,
dudes would die on a hill for him.
Here's the
and
thing.
Then we get Mac Brown from Texas.
Fake that.
What's that?
You can't fake that. Like, that reminds me of like Pete Carroll.
Yes.
Like Pete Carroll's enthusiasm, you can't fake. And I'm going to call out Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is kind of that fake leader where like, oh, I know I should act a certain way and get it's like you can't do that. People see through that. I think Kirk, to be genuine.
A leader. I think he says the right things. I think he does the right things, but he's not going to be that cheerleader, that energy, that source of energy. He's not going to be that guy.
Remember Brett Favre in the locker room? pulling the hat sideways. I told Percy I'd do this.
Pants
And then
on the ground.
pants
On the ground.
Pants on the
Dude,
ground.
I remember him going up
Right?
behind somebody in the huddle and smacking their ass so hard. And one of them
Yeah.
mic'd up and he goes, "That stings, doesn't it?" Well, like I was saying with the Tar Heels, man, even with the football coach, this is how it goes full circle. The football coach, right? You guys know Matt Brown. He was at Texas for a while. He's got Carolina ties. He's a football coach now. It's been ultimately underwhelming since he's been there, but the culture of that is the same that Roy brought to the basketball team. I see the guy. He's an old white guy with white hair. He's got a gut. He's walking in with these J's on that are Carolina colored, and he's dancing with his players, and they are losing their shit. And I said,
that's one of the things people love about Andy Reid too.
Yeah.
That's the kind of coach that the players want to go on a hill and die for. And I get it, man.
Now here's
some of you are going to say it. And there's a certain percentage. I think we're all right in some way. Has the league gotten a little softer? Yes. Has the mentality changed? Yes. But at the end of the day, these guys are human beings, man.
Yeah.
You got to connect with them somehow. And I think after a certain amount of time, you're kind of set in your ways and you're not going to be able to do it. So this is going to be kind of a good refresh button, reset to be like, okay, holy crap, I can have a conversation with the GM. That's wild. Holy shit, the GM's only 40? That's crazy. Yeah, it's going to be fun for these players, man.
What all these coaches need to understand is that if you're going to be the stuffy, hard-ass Bill Belichick style coach, you better win, and you better win a lot for players to put up with that. People will go to New England because it's going to suck. We're going to be miserable. Training camp is not going to be fun. I'm going to get dressed down in the meeting rooms, but we're going to win a Super Bowl at the end of the day. If you're coming to Minnesota and you got all four of those things coming at you from Mike Zimmer, and then you don't even make the wild card, and then the next year, you make the wild card, but then you get blown out. You can see where the culture comes from.
So true. But now the next step is Minnesota. They're going to meet with their next hire. If hopefully this will be the next hire,
Sean Payton.
And they're going to have to come to some sort of decision on a head coach.
Yeah, spoiler alert. If you guys aren't here today, Sean Payton is out as New Orleans head coach. This is not fake news. This is a real thing. He's stepping away. So
he's a quitter.
That's wild. And what a wild Brady's mulling retirement for real. You're like, what happened today? What happened on January 25th to shake the entire world? But go ahead, Adam. Sorry about that.
Oh, I'm just talking about how the Vikings need to find a head coach now.
So I have this pulled up. I have their wiki pages here, and 2 defensive coordinators. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. But these are 2 NFC Championship D coordinators. It's kind of wild too. If you pay attention to like just about every game, like Adam and I and Kyle do, that we just saw the NFC Championship like 3 weeks ago in LA, and it was nuts. Yeah. Going back to LA's hosting, San Fran's coming over, divisional opponents, freaking wild. But we have D'Amico Ryans, who is currently the San Francisco 49er defensive coordinator, and Raheem Morris, he is the LA Rams defensive coordinator. From what we're hearing, these are the 2 front runners that the Vikings are going after. So we'll see.
Now, Morris does have some offensive coaching experience. He was a positional coach at the NFL level. So he doesn't come over absolutely oblivious on the offense, which is kind of nice. But we've also got this new system in place now, it seems, where every coach is going to be told to do their jobs, and they're going to be trusted to do their jobs.
Uh-huh.
And they're not going to be told how to do their jobs completely. They're going to have a little bit of freedom. So, yeah, I mean, your head coach, you just want to be able to give the team, the players, the direction, and to be able to form the best roster out of what you can, out of what the GM gives you. That's his job.
I have a novel concept.
Yeah.
What if you hired a head coach who then hired an offensive coordinator and allowed the offensive coordinator to do his job?
To coordinate the offense?
That might actually work.
That's weird.
There's a good chance. And do you know what else would be kind of weird? If your head coach was in communication constantly with your coordinators and maybe even your important players like captains on defense or, the quarterback and captains on offense about what the strategy was going to be heading into games and how they were going to attack teams. Because I know that we've talked about this on here more than once, but we've talked about Belichick and his meetings with Brady and how they dissect opposing teams before they'd attack them. And together they'd come up with amazing strategies to attack teams. And we just learned that this most recent season was really the first time that Zimmer sat down with Kirk Cousins before games. And also, let's be honest, the Vikings have been absolutely terrible at game planning for opponents. They aren't attacking their opponents' weaknesses. They're using questionable personnel a lot of the time. There are a lot of things under the Mike Zimmer era that didn't make a lot of sense. And I'm hoping that we can get a unit together that can really work together to achieve a common goal.
I agree with Jonathan.
It's weird because it works until it doesn't, right? And that's kind of where it went with the team. You didn't want to give them a third season in a row to hope they figure it out with Zimmer and Spielman. So I think if you see the title defensive coordinator now, don't freak out. That doesn't mean you're not going to get. We've already said with the GM, if you'll just accept it and absorb it, that you're not going to get what you just had. This team is going away from that.
Unless it's Dan Quinn, please do not hire Dan Quinn.
I'd be okay with that. I'll die on that hill right now. The guy's defenses are awesome, and he won a Super Bowl with Seattle in that defense. So I'd be okay with it.
Zimmer 2.0.
Raheem Morris is still my top.
Yeah.
But again, I haven't done enough research to be confident in my decision. I just know what I like.
I think, we were talking about this. I think that Morris and Ryans are their two. This is what we're getting off Twitter and, all the inner workings there. So don't call it official, but these are the two guys that it's going to come down to. Not sure when they're going to get to interview because one of these guys is going to the Super Bowl. So we'll see. But hey, what I want from a head coach, and this is a quality that I actually really liked from Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan had a quote where he was like, I don't care in the draft whether or not you give me a 3-4 guy, a 4-3 guy, whatever they're projected to be at. Give me the best guy, and I will put them on the field and find a way to utilize that talent. I want that head coach who is not so pigeonholed in we have to have a specific type of player. Just give me players and let us maximize them to their fullest, whether that's offense, defense, or special teams.
I will say this, though. I just don't want a GM head coach combination like what was going on over there with the Raiders.
And the Houston Texans with Bill O'Brien.
I still question that Culley hire and everything that Houston was doing over that time. That all still makes absolutely no sense. I slammed it on Twitter when it happened. And the fact that he only lasted a season, people were like, oh, he only lasted one season. I'm like, I'm surprised he lasted a season.
Houston, they've got no direction.
That place is a dumpster fire right now.
None.
At least the Lions have some talent.
So Andrew says defensive coordinator for the Rams, Raheem Morris. With Raheem Morris, you really need to go several years back, not focus what he's done with these monsters he's got. Well, I mean, they were in their Super Bowl a couple years ago too, so not sure when he started. 2021, where was he at? Atlanta. Interim head coach, defensive coordinator, wide receivers coach, pass game coordinator, assistant head coach, and that's from 2015 to 2020. So, they've got a lot of talent. They traded for Von Miller. They have Aaron Donald. They got Jalen Ramsey. They've got a lot of talent there. But
you ever think it's weird that the Rams actually went all in when we had those years for Minnesota where we thought the Vikings were going all in, and it's nowhere near all in?
Yeah, it felt like it.
Yeah.
Oh,
they really will be. They really will be bankrupt if they don't win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, the window there has got to be very small.
I don't think that.
Especially with all the picks they gave up.
I don't think that they can. I think they're very capable of winning a Super Bowl. I don't know, man. San Francisco seems hot right now.
Jimmy G, so hot right now.
It is not Jimmy G. It's nothing about him at all.
Did you guys see the thing where Nick Wright was asking about the quarterback win situation? I shared it with you guys, right? In our chat.
I don't know if I looked at that. So. Sorry.
He was on his show, and there were 3 other people on there with him. and they were all talking about how the teams that won were the better teams. And he said, well, let me ask you something. He said, do you feel like Jimmy G did a better job in the divisional round because his team won rather than Josh Allen, whose team lost?
Yeah, well, we know that answer.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but not a single one of the people on his show would admit that they would have rather had Josh Allen because, of course,
that's all scripted bullshit. They don't really believe that.
Yeah.
There's
they
no
can't.
way. They can't actually believe that. And I'll say it now, if you guys didn't see, which you already heard the news because you've got phones and you're not living under a rock, that Bills-Chiefs game outside of the Minneapolis Miracle and any Super Bowl, because I'm thinking about the Philly year because that was a crazy good Super Bowl. That's the best game I've seen in 5 years.
That fourth quarter.
Wild. Just wild.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
The last sequence of like 7 minutes total, including overtime and the end of the regulation, was.
And people that love defense got to see that. Then people that loved offense got to see that firepower at the end. And all in all, it was a really amazing game.
I don't really have much else for these head coach candidates because we don't know yet. We haven't done our research, but we'll recap the divisional round really quick. The Bills lost, unfortunately. I am team don't change the rules because a couple years ago you guys wanted to change it for the Chiefs. Now you want to change it for the Bills. And a lot of people, all you're saying is, well, the team that I wanted to win didn't win. And I'm sorry. Keep
I
it the
think
way
the overtime rules are fine.
Yeah.
You gotta
I
put
would
pressure.
like to see both teams get a possession, no matter what happens on the first drive. But again, I'm fine with the way it is because the defense does need to make a stop, or they got to stop the team from tying it up at the end of the fourth quarter. I mean, there are plenty of ways to win this game, and just because things didn't go their way in overtime, I don't know.
I'm not. This isn't directed at you or anyone else particularly, Adam. This is just me venting out loud. But the idea of that being like, well, they need to get the ball again, completely just for me in my eyes, and I could be wrong because I'm a pessimist. It just shits on the entire 60 minutes you just played. It's like, where were you with this opportunity for that hour that you were on the field? Because now it's like, well, he didn't get the ball. Dude, you had the ball. You had a chance to get the ball like 7 times. And I feel like it dilutes the product because eventually we're just, and I said this because I was being dramatic as usual, but I was like, we're just going to have
you arguing with people on the Facebook.
Good Lord. All you're going to do is just have a skills competition then. That's all you want because you're going to make defenses to the point where they can't do their job. It's already dwindled away for like quarterback hits and all that stuff already. And you're just
like the TikTok I sent you where the teams send out their long snappers for a coin flip. Then they each bring a board game from home, and the person that wins the other team's long snapper game wins the game.
It's just like, stop messing with it because you're bored. Kyle West had a great point. I'm stealing it and I'm saying it out loud. He goes, it's because everybody wants everything right now. Their attention span is that of a fly.
Yeah.
Just stop.
I just didn't want that game to end, kind of personally.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
right?
yes,
I didn't
also
either.
true.
It was so entertaining. And I had a video of my dad. My dad's a diehard Chiefs fan. I had a video of them going into overtime. Or no, them winning. Sorry. He lost his mind. I was like, this is cool. That was a good game. But
13 seconds. How?
Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
The Vikings could have 4 minutes and 3 timeouts on the clock and not do that.
You're damn right.
I know.
The game before
Kirk Cousins'
that,
6-yard pass.
I think, the game before that was the Rams and the Buccaneers. I was screaming at the top of my lungs at the end of that game. I was like, if the Rams lose this game, the NFL is fixed, and I am going to find some way to send a bag of shit to someone's house that I don't like. This is pissing me off. There it was again, the miracle comeback, but you don't do cover 0 with Cooper Kupp wide open. That is a stupid idea. Don't do that.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Matt Stafford, he's pretty good.
Yeah. Kind of weird how they traded for a better quarterback, and they're better now.
Have you seen all of the people on Twitter, all of the Lions fans? There's a video of a Lions fan absolutely losing his shit at Matthew Stafford coming back because they're all so excited for
yeah,
our team.
They
sucks,
appreciate what he did in
guy.
Detroit.
Yeah, that's cool. I get it.
Everyone does kind of want. Everyone I know anyway wants to see him win, even if it's on a stacked super team. Kind of. I mean, I know I've pooped on the super team concept for many years, but man, it'd be nice to see him
But you know what? With
Win some
LA, it
games.
doesn't feel as grimy. And I don't say that Tom Brady's grimy, but people will go there just because he's there. It's not like everyone's going to LA because Matt Stafford's there. But they were upfront with their intentions. They're like, we don't want to marry you. We're just here to hook up for the weekend. Are you good with that? And they're like, oh, wow, that was honest. Yeah.
Nobody was happier with the outcome of that game than Antonio Brown.
He posted a picture of himself in a Ravens jersey today for some odd reason.
Yeah, he wants to play with Lamar and ruin the
dude.
Ravens.
Go buy an island somewhere and take a year off, dude. Just stop. Let's just quit.
Celebrity boxing, Jake Paul, Antonio Brown.
Hey, we called it.
It's coming.
Saturday, going backwards, the 49ers beat the Packers in what just don't understand. Aaron Rodgers was trying to force the ball to Davante Adams. I found out like once you drop a pass from him, you don't get the ball anymore, which is kind of rude. They were missing their deep threat.
What do you think? Last time we see him in Green Bay,
I think the writing's on the wall. They're in cap hell too. They're like us and the Saints. Fun fact: did you guys put it in our chat about the cap situation? No, it's my buddy Matt. The top
I've seen
5 teams that are all in cap hell are all NFC teams. The Packers, the Saints, the Vikings, the Cowboys, and the Giants all in cap hell in the negative, really bad.
How are the Giants so fucked up?
They're the Giants.
Who do they have? Like, who did they sign?
Kenny Galladay's of the world.
They spent a lot of money on Kenny Galladay,
and he didn't do anything. It was annoying. Yeah, I think so. I think Rodgers is done in Green Bay. I think a fresh set of new scenery and a change would be good for him. I think he's going to bring a spark to whatever team he goes to. I think the team that makes the most sense that's ready to win because he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild is Pittsburgh.
I think it's Denver.
Denver is certainly an option.
What if Tom Brady retires and he just goes to Tampa?
I have seen some people say the Colts, but the Colts are too wound up with what they've got right now.
Oh, they made such a mistake. It's such a mistake with Carson Wentz. Anytime I feel bad about having Kirk Cousins, I look at Indy and I'm like, it's not that bad.
Have you ever heard a general manager like be so non-committal about a quarterback as what they were for Carson Wentz? Like the Colts GM was just like, I ain't committing to this shit.
It wasn't even at this moment Carson Wentz is our man. It wasn't even that.
No.
And that's what you usually get.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I like that kind of honesty.
And going backwards to the very first game in the weekend, the Cinderella story that is Kevin McAllister at quarterback, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals walking into Tennessee and throwing out the 1 seed in Nashville. I don't know how they do it. Fun fact, he was sacked 9 times in that game.
9 times.
Still won.
How?
He's a beast.
Derrick Henry was held in check.
Yep.
Which it's the Michael Jordan thing. You're not going to stop Derrick Henry, but you're going to contain him. And they contained him. And I thought that they were going to get ran all over. I thought we were going to see just really conservative passing. And instead, we got Tannehill over here throwing 1 interception every 8 pass attempts.
There's another terrible contract.
I was going to say, well, you know,
it's so bad.
The regular season, he was great.
He did well. I mean, at the end of the day, you are who you are, and he kind of went back to who he was. He had that lightning, though, for a while.
Has a wonderful defense, the best running back in the game, and he's got a fucking great wide. AJ Brown is a stud, legit stud. And, I mean, like you said, he kind of is what he is, and I think they're babysitting him there. Honestly, I think is what it is. You know, we said it the other day, like career resurgence. Can we have one of those with some other quarterback possibly? I think he's just babysat over there. I think it's a product of everyone around it. Now, if they were to get an Aaron Rodgers, they'd be awesome. Or a Russell Wilson. But I think they're probably going to stick with him because they like him.
Their cap is stuck too, kind of the way that Indy is. And it's tough that's the situation. But, I mean, Green Bay has got... They got Zadarius Smith already teasing about leaving. They got Davante Adams, who's probably on his way out, unless he's franchise tagged. Oh. I mean, it's a mess in Green Bay. That team could look very, very different next time Minnesota plays them.
You know what's funny, too? Coward said, if I was Aaron, I'd just stay there because it's very much not a rebuild. And it's like, I don't know what you're reading, dude, but I don't know, man. Charlotte, I'll get to your comment in a second. Tannehill got the Case Keenum lightning in a bottle that year. Yeah, they went to the AFC Championship. and they'll make the playoffs because that division is trash. But I don't know. That's weird. How about Jerick McKinnon's show with the Chiefs? 2 games in a row, he made some impact plays. I am happy as hell, and I'm rooting for the Chiefs strictly because of Jerick McKinnon, because with the injury and bringing in Edwards-Helaire again slowly, he's going to get playing time, and he's proven that he's still got some juice.
Jerick McKinnon's got that speed, especially around the edge, and if they can do that, that team is loaded with speed. They're going to have defenders spread out everywhere. And keeping track of someone like McKinnon in that type of offense, that's not easy. And Patrick Mahomes has already said how much he loves having McKinnon on that team. And there's no way that you're not going to take away a weapon that your quarterback loves.
Very excited. Well, I don't know what else we've got for the show, but I'm very excited. Growing up this championship weekend, it's Sunday. The Rams are hosting the 49ers, and the Chiefs are hosting the Bengals. Did not expect 3 out of those 4 teams to make it, but
3 upsets this weekend in the
and it comes
divisional
down to
round.
Kickers. It came down to kickers again.
And Green Bay's collapse on special teams was just amazing. And I don't mean that in like a astounding, I love it kind of way. I mean in a wow kind of way.
I get it. I get it. It'll be fun. We'll give you the update there. We'll get you hopefully by this time next week, and I'll aim it for Tuesday again. That's my day off, and we'll try to aim it for them. Maybe by this time next week they'll have a head coach. I don't know because both of them are playing Sunday, so probably not. But
that was my question for you guys: is do you think by the time we record the next episode we'll have a head coach hired?
If we wait long enough, the answer will be yes.
It's kind of a trick question. Then
Kenny Wangu named to the All-Pro team as a returner. Pretty cool.
Oh yeah. That's a good shout out.
Do you think they've warned the new GM about Chris Tomlinson yet?
Oh,
he's pretty fun. Hey, he's pretty funny and kind of sarcastic a little bit too. I think he actually might be able to put Tomlinson in his place in a way that Spielman never could. Spielman was not very articulate.
He did an interview too. I didn't watch it all the way through. I know he shared it with you. If you guys want to hear Rick like kind of letting loose and talking to
I watched
Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah, he was on there for almost an hour. So that's out there in the YouTube land.
I watched it. I don't think that there are some sensational headlines that are like, "Oh, Rick Spielman let loose at Mike Zimmer in this interview." Not in my opinion. He was very honest. He talked about some of his failures as a general manager, but I don't think he didn't take no shots at the Vikings or at Mike Zimmer. Hell, he still referred to the Vikings as we.
Yeah.
3-4 times throughout the interview, he said, well, we would always try to do this. We would always try to do that. So,
yeah, it's a fun little nugget if you guys are nerds like we are and you want to look at stuff that pertains to the Vikings, even though it's now a past and not a present. It's kind of cool.
He will take a year. He'll take a year off. Maybe he helps his brother out in Detroit, does some
definitely
coaching,
could see that. They're
scouting,
on the rise for sure.
Some scouting. He'll maybe help them scout some players, but I really do think next year Rick Spielman will get some interviews from some other teams for some open GM positions.
Wouldn't be surprised.
And we got some former Minnesota Vikings players taking part at the WWE Royal Rumble on Saturday, one of my favorite wrestling pay-per-views. I love the surprise entrance. I love a lot of the fun. Neither of those former Vikings will be in the Royal Rumble match or are scheduled to be in the Rumble match because they are both defending titles. We have the WWE Championship between Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, which is a dream match for a lot of people because they're both large, strong men.
With actual MMA background. So hopefully they just go beat the piss out of one another. I'm all for that.
And then we've got the Universal Championship where Roman Reigns will defend his belt against Seth Rollins, which that looks like fun too.
Adam, I learned a weird factoid. Did you know that Lex Luger was once a Green Bay Packer?
No, but who was the let's stay hyped, get hyped? That guy was a Green Bay Packer.
Oh, Mojo Rawley.
Yeah.
I knew Kyle was going to get this.
Dean Norris. He was a linebacker for the Green Bay Packers.
True.
That was that quick sound of the, and he was going through the archives in his brain. I could hear it out loud.
Let me file it back here.
That's so cool.
But yeah, I will be watching that, and I'll probably be tweeting along a little bit over on the Twitter machine. So head on over there and follow me if you want to talk some WWE this weekend. Should be a lot of fun.
Let me step on your toes a little bit for this, because I'm happy to do this, even though we didn't get to, and I take full blame for it because I had a wild weekend. Adam and I do stuff on his YouTube, and it's also on his Twitch here, which you can see in the middle. But if you want to look him up, twitch.tv/MN from Minnesota, MN Viking Zombie, or on YouTube. We do horror movie reviews, and we did a little bit of picks. Sorry I didn't get around to the divisional stuff, but we can still go forward with conference and Super Bowl predictions and all that stuff. But Adam's trying to build his platform and his I don't want to call it your brand, but we can call it your brand of stuff here, if that's what it is. He's trying to build this up, so if you guys can help him out and follow and turn on all the little notification bells and all that stuff, just help him out, man. This is
the horror movie thing isn't really your fault. I mean, we picked a movie, I watched it, and then I messaged you and said it's okay if we don't review this one.
No, we didn't. We don't have a timeline for that. I was talking more about the divisional round picks. That was my bad.
Because that movie, I don't really want to talk about it.
That's
we'll just pick something else, because that one.
We're also thinking,
we're
not saying this will happen, and I'm definitely not saying it because it's not my channel, but we also have flirted with the idea of doing older stuff because it would bring in clicks for popularity and stuff. I am excited for him whenever he gets to watch the new Scream, his thoughts on it. I've seen it twice, and it's awesome.
Yep, I haven't gotten to watch that one yet.
Hey, there is a new sequel, I don't know, the timeline's all fucked up, for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's supposed to be coming out on Netflix. If you guys do that one, count me in, because it's going to be a train wreck.
Absolutely, dude.
I can't wait to watch it.
I love that. That's it. You know what it is? It's nostalgia for me. They're going to reboot it 3 or 4 more times, just like they'll do another Friday the 13th soon, because it's been long overdue, and I'm going to watch it too because it makes me think of my childhood.
It was filmed in like Bulgaria or some weird country like that, and they're just going to pretend that it's Texas. That's amazing. I love that.
Well, it's amazing. 2 films are made in Vancouver, and they're meant to be like in New York or Seattle or something. And it just looks right.
I was just looking at that for Scream last night. I've really dived into like the fandom and the fan clubs on Facebook for Scream. And they're like, hey, did you guys know this was filmed in North Carolina? And I was like, what? Where? That's supposed to be in California. And then I looked up the Airbnb of the old Scream house from the original. You can stay there sometimes. He puts it out for a week or 2. And I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. I'm totally going down the nerd rabbit hole. But support Adam Carlson here for his Twitch and YouTube channel.
And I'll have an article out in the morning over on the Viking Age as well. You can hit me up there to support me. You can click on those articles. And honestly, I appreciate it greatly when you do, because it puts a little bit more money in my wallet and lets me pay down on some of my bills. So thank you again for those that do. And for those of you who don't have time, I appreciate still that you can like or share or even just comment something on every article if you see it. I'd appreciate that as well. Over on Undead Walking, I do usually 1 or 2 articles per month, and hopefully we can get a little bit more excitement back, because I believe we're under 20 days until The Walking Dead returns for the second part of the 3-part season finale.
Kyle West, you're up, sir.
Really quick, we should wish a happy birthday to Minnesota Vikings legend Carl Eller, who turned 80 years old today.
He is such a nice guy.
Yes, definitely. So my work is up on the screen. I still need to buy that custom domain name. I've only been saying that for 2-3 months now. I'll get to it eventually, folks. But you can check out my artwork up on there. You might like some of it. Please help me share it on social media. If you got Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, GeoCities, Yahoo Chat,
all in the metaverse.
Your metaverse, get on the metaverse.
Make an old Vine, make a Vine account, even though Vine's not a thing anymore. Just loop it for 30 million hours.
Right, definitely.
Do your part, all right?
Yeah, help spread it. That really helps me get the word out. Helps more people see it. So I'd appreciate any of that.
For those of you not watching and listening somewhere where you don't have a picture, it is HTTPS KyleWest84.pigfair.com.
84 is for Randy Moss.
Hey, we
For
didn't put this
JC
up,
Cat.
and I don't.
Yeah, right?
He caught a touchdown to go to the playoffs. That was so weird. So I don't have the picture up because I failed to be a good producer for the show. But John Randall is going to be on something with Peyton Manning. That was a photo that was out recently of them in Minnesota. Peyton's Places,
something.
I think. Yeah, it sounds right. Peyton's Places. I think it's on ESPN Plus. So look out for John Randall, my all-time favorite Viking. He's always entertaining. But it was really cool to see those guys who kind of like one pass the torch to the other as far as timelines and eras, because he was in the 90s. Peyton came in, late 90s, started in 2000s in his dominant run with the Colts. But he'll be on Peyton's Places, so check that out too.
Speaking of John Randall, oh man, I went back and watched that game from '98. And if you guys are ever just in a mood for nostalgic old football, go back and watch old Vikings film. I'm not talking about from like last season or even the season before. Just go back to '98, just some old point in time. It's so much fun to watch guys like John Randall, and you just forget. You can see how good they actually were when you watch them play.
All right. On that note, I do want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat. We had quite a lively group in here, and we got to talk about some really cool stuff, Vikings related. And we'll be back next week to talk about even more to do with this Minnesota Vikings situation, where now it looks like there's a general manager in place, and there should be a lot more information on who the head coach will be going forward. And there will probably be a lot more other nuggets and information that comes up between then as well. Thanks again to anyone who likes, shares, subscribes, comments, or even just interacts with us. We appreciate all of that. And once again, stay classy, Minnesota.